Before we continue, just welcome back from the bloody battlefield to our channel. Loud down, see the world. Time goes very fast, which means a new start for everything in the world and a new hope for another round of time. And best wishes for you, and just as two Chinese saying, the best time in the year is the spring. 一年之计在于春. A thousand of miles start from the first step. 千里之行始于足下. Today we talk about the first step in knowing Sino-US engagement or international relations, which is a theory. We know theory is usually very abstract, but abstract also means main point or summary. When you know some basic theories, concept or some rules, you know better than nature when you see all the behaviors and the performances in the world. Just as the saying, the outsiders see the appearance and the insiders see the point. 外行看热闹，内行看门道. In international relations, what the most talked about is realism and idealism. 现实主义和理想主义. The realism emphasizes it is. The idealism emphasizes it should be. The realism dominates in the theory, for it discusses mainly about national sovereignty and national security, national interests, comprehensive power, power balance, predominance, hegemony, human nature, war conflict, and big powers rise and decline. Based on different focuses, realism theory can be also classified as classical or traditional realism, which focuses on nation as the actor, and structural realism for research on international organizations or system, newer classical realism or behaviorism for computer simulation or models. The origin of modern international relations theory is from Europe. The 30 Years' War from 1618 to 1648. During the war, the Holy Roman Empire, Habsburg dynasty, and the Catholic forces were greatly demolished. In Holland, France, Sweden, and other Protestant countries gradually got stronger. In the following Westphalian Treaty, the notion of national sovereignty was first identified. Concurrently, it was the end of Ming Dynasty and the beginning of Qing. In China, in 1644, Li Zicheng besieged and occupied Beijing, and Manchurian Qing entered Shanghai Guan Pass. A classical or traditional realism can be retrieved back to Thucydides, 修昔底德, in ancient Greece, and his book, History of the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, 波罗奔尼撒战争史. In China's warring states, the policy of vertical and horizontal allies, 合纵连横, is also one part of the classical realism. The period of ancient Greece and China's spring, autumn, and warring states, 春秋战国, is a very important time in human history, with the two great civilizations shining with glory and influences concurrently in the West and the East. Then we talk about first the Greco-Persian War and the three critical battles. The first one, Merson Battle, 马拉松战役. As in the video we saw just now, the 490 BC, the Persian Empire invaded Greece, and 10,000 Greek soldiers with armor resisted the Persian at Merson and finally defeated the enemy. One Greek soldier named Philippides, a runner and a messenger, ran 26 miles, about 42 kilometers, from the battlefield back to the city of Athens for the good news of victory. When he arrived and just told the citizens that we win, and he promptly collapsed and died. Later on, in memory of Merson victory in the soldier, Merson became a very popular sport. During the Greco-Persian War in eastern China, it was the cross time from West Zhou to East Zhou dynasty, and from spring-autumn to warring state. This year, 490 BC, Merson Battle, Confucius, Kung Fuzi, was 62 years old, and in his trek along among the states, teaching his Confucianism, 儒家思想. If cell phone and internet had been available at his time, it would have taught the link to real-time report to the Merson Battle. The second one, Thermopylae Battle, 温泉关战役, 480 BC, with Sparta King Leonidas, 300 soldiers, warriors, and some allied forces fought against the Persian army. In the end, all died in the war. The third one is Salamis Sea Battle, 萨拉米斯海战, 480 BC. Between 300 Greek battleships and 1,000 Persian ship fleet. The Greek overcame the mighty enemy and achieved the final victory. The Persians withdrew to Minor Asia. After Greco and Persian War, the Athenians built up a very strong navy and provided protection to other small city-states and made allies, with other states helped in giving soldiers money or ships. Sparta in the south also had its own allies, and two wars occurred between them. And neither side got the upper hand. And the historian Thucydides attended the Second Peloponnesian War. Thucydides was born in a noble family in Athens in 460 BC. The Second Peloponnesian War broke out in 431 BC. Then he joined the army and later was chosen as a general, stationing in a big city, the Amphipolis, in the north. During the war, the city was taken over by Sparta, and he was sentenced for exile for 20 years. In 404 BC, he returned to Athens and finished his book. As in his book, in 416 BC, the Athenians attacked the island state named Melos, which was 75 nautical miles southeast of Athens coast, and was once a colony of Sparta. During the war, Melos hoped to be neutral and willing to take either side. Yet Athens sent 50 battleships with 3,000 infantry and archers and tried to persuade Melos to give up its neutrality and join in its allies. The representative from Athens said, "The strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must." 强者可以为所欲为，弱者只能逆来顺受. This statement later became a popular model for classical realism. Now we can also hear similar expressions like power is truth, and diplomacy is not for the weak. Whatever you cannot get in the battle, neither can you get it on the table. The cannon is the only speaker. The failure in the negotiation brought them into war, and the Athens army took over Melos. They killed all the male adults and sold the females and the kids as slaves. The ancient Greece was always acclaimed as a paradigm of the Western parliamentary democracy. Yet in diplomacy, they also believed in power politics, of realism and imperialism. Next, we will talk about a very important concept in realism, human nature, 人性. Human being as the spirit of all things created. What's his purpose? For which people have argued for thousands of years. In West, it is commonly believed that human nature is wicked, and it must be controlled by a good contract or a good system. In chapter 17, the book of Jeremiah of the Bible, it says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and above cure." 人心比万物都诡诈，坏到极处，谁能识透呢？ In book of Romans of the Bible, it also mentions the wickedness of human nature. Traditional realism also believes the origin of war comes from power struggle and the evil side of human nature. In 1651, the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes said in his book Realism, human nature is selfish, and before the creation of countries, people have lived in wild jungles. And the law of the jungle is the weak as a prey of the strong. Under the dominance of nature, people established the country by social contract, with one group of people obey the authority of one person for maintaining the internal peace and against the external aggression. One country, whether as monarchy, oligarchy, or democracy, it must be an absolute authority, also called Realism. In West, while human nature wickedness is emphasized, the system that's safe from human nature, from our centralization of power, to prevent against authoritarian or tyranny. So power division and check balance have become the vital principles for the West in political system and legal society. In this session, we discussed the issue of theory. And in the next session, we will continue to talk about related theory and concepts. Hope something can be learned and not to be very boring. Thank you all, and see you next time.